Hey, what's up guys, aarava here, and welcome back to another episode of my F1 23 My Team Career Mode. This is episode number 27 today for this Spanish Grand Prix in Season 2. If you guys did miss the previous one, then be sure to go check that one out before you see this one at the Bahrain Grand Prix, where we had a red flag on lap 1, a very chaotic Grand Prix, I must say, with an AI having an engine failure off the fibre lights. Didn't think that was ever going to be possible, but we witnessed it last episode, and that wasn't all. It was an amazing episode because we managed to get our first, not only podium of this season, but also our second ever win in this career series to go second place in the championship. Sainz and Ferrari having a blinder of a start of the season, though, with Carlos Sainz leading the championship. He's not been off the podium since the start of the season, and obviously it was a bit of a howler for Red Bull Racing, with Lando Norris having that DNF and Verstappen also down the order as well. So, you know, very, very mixed bag compared to what I thought it was going to be like going into this season, but we are in a really good place compared to others really falling over themselves and just, you know, having general, you know, mishaps at the start of the season. But we said we had to make the most of where the car was at in those first 3 episodes, and very much so we need to make the most of where the car is at right now in the next couple of episodes, because from this episode onwards we've got the brand new latest patch for F1 23, and finally the R&D points have been fixed. So being on reduced for myself and being on boosted R&D for the AI is finally going to actually make that tangible difference. So although our car is in a very good spot right now, second best overall, near to Red Bull, ahead of the rest, now going forwards we've got a couple of upgrades in the pipeline already, so those will come in, but after those are done, really the AI may rapidly start to catch us and overtake us. So it's a very odd kind of almost like Brawn GP sort of situation for us, where we have to make the most of a quick car in the first part of the season, because by the second half I don't even want to know how quick the AI it may be in terms of the R&D performance chart versus us, now that they actually have boosted R&D and we actually have reduced R&D. And following that patch, we've decided to upgrade our personnel facilities, the pit stop, but also the experience analysis suite there on the personnel, because boosting the experience of your teammate actually gains you more R&D from him in the practice programs. And I'm going one further, going to the driver kind of perk section and buying development feedback, which boosts R&D by 10%, and also the engine wear, just because we know now on a 16 race calendar the engine wear has been a lot higher, so we're going to try and reduce the engine wear as much as we can. We may come back and purchase level 2 of these perks, but I want to kind of keep a bit of money in there in case I want to buy a big upgrade on the HQ very soon. But I'm using all the in-game mechanics I can to now circumvent the actual reduced R&D, which is, you're going to notice now into next episode, you know, we're here on 2000 R&D. We're going to spend some R&D on a major drag reduction upgrade, so that's going to really reduce the pot we have of points to spend. But from now on you'll notice the R&D points really won't go up that much in the same dramatic way they were every episode up to this point, because this episode has been recorded, it's the first one recorded after the patch has come in, and unfortunately that drag reduction update, of course it did, it failed. Really not needed now that we've actually got this reduction in R&D points coming in, so we have to repurchase that. But like I said, we did actually have, I think, 2 upgrades in the pipeline from last episode coming in, so this is probably the last major leap you're going to see from us as a team as we get closer to Red Bull. But look at that pack behind us: Ferrari, Aston Martin, McLaren, Haas, Mercedes, all jumping up and gaining on Ferrari, way more than Ferrari have gained on us. So now the midfield is almost becoming a top half and then the bottom half, the top half being Red Bull, ourselves, all those teams I just mentioned, and then the bottom half Alpine, AlphaTauri, Williams and Sauber. So it's going to be a very competitive Q2, I imagine, trying to get into the top 10 shootout. And just like in Bahrain, we have to make the most of the fact that right now our car is the second best. We're as close as we ever have been since round 1 or 2 to Red Bull. So we need to be aiming for the podium, because really honestly, now that we've got this R&D that's been fixed in the game, in the next couple episodes, I'm going to guess we might see 1 or 2 or even 3 teams leapfrogging us in R&D R&D terms, because they've got the increased R&D and we've got the reduced one. Finally, this is what it was meant to be like from the start of the game. I can't believe it's taken them, so long to finally fix it, but there you go. So we come now to the Spanish GP, and knowing we have to do a good job and collect the maximum amount of points we can get in this Grand Prix. But very odd coming back to the F1 game, because you may have noticed if you follow me on social media and stuff, I've been away for a week. This is the first time I've played the F1 game in 7 days. Feels so weird and rusty to jump back onto the game, but thankfully this car feels good. It is a good spot and it's working well around Catalonia, and almost immediately on the second lap feeling a lot better. Purple second sector, a lot of time gained in the last sector as well, and we are up into Q2 and P12, but Ricciardo outdoes us in Q1, which is pretty promising, by about 2/10 even in P9. Lando Norris goes top. You've got a kind of mixture of Mercedes, Aston, Ferrari and McLaren, just showing that those upgrades have come in well for those AI team, and it's going to be mighty close. There's only 5/10 covering the top 9, including Ricciardo, so we have some work to do to try and close the gap to Rick Bobby, who at the moment is quicker than us at this circuit off Q1. Q2 though, as you go on through the day, obviously the track is rubbering in, getting quicker and quicker, and we are getting more comfortable with the car. A lot of traffic, it seems, for Verstappen, as he's almost racing and fighting Valtteri Bottas in the McLaren, the very man who stopped him winning the championship last season versus Lewis Hamilton. So that's a little bit awkward. Bottas and Verstappen both get out of the way. For myself, we go on for a second consecutive lap, because there's enough fuel in the tank when you're here at the Catalonia to do that, but we have a horrendous second corner there. Just snagged the throttle and the curb a bit too much. But to be honest, I felt pretty good. We are only a couple of hundredths off P1 in Q2, but Ricciardo's had a bit of a howler. He's down in P16, 1.6 seconds off the pace. We go to ride on board with him, and, well, he's in a mountain of traffic. What on earth is happening here? This is the worst timed exit for Ricciardo and most people in this qualifying session. Everyone's giving each other dirty air right at the end of the session. Ricciardo, this is his second and final flying lap, and it's only going to be enough to get him, well, not even up into the top 14 there. He's not even on the page for Q2 here, so I thought he was going to be a bit quicker than us in Q2 as well, basing off that Q1, but he's had a howler with traffic, a bit of an operational mistake from our team, and so Ricciardo doesn't feature in the top 10 shootout. We're up in P4, and Ricciardo, he didn't even improve a position. He's actually lower than Logan Sargent in the Haas, which really says a lot. And Piastri, the other fellow Australian, is in P10 in the McLaren. Gasly's done well in the Alpine, to be honest, to be up there, because the Alpine is one of those teams that really didn't make much of a gain versus all those top half teams that, caught up to Ferrari, caught up to us, as we're now in the top 10 shootout. Our first flying lap, a little bit wide into turn 1, and way too much curb on the second corner. We got way too greedy on the brakes into turn 1, and that just set us up for failure. Thankfully, we have enough fuel to just put this down to none on ERS deploy, and we go again on the same set of tyres, so we don't waste this set of tyres, but we just have to go again and go round until we can go for another hot lap, as we make massive gains on that mistake we made earlier, up by 3 seconds. A little bit difficult to tell how good this lap is going to be now, but purple first sector on the very top right. That's very good, but that's not. What the hell happened there? Our rear end just snapped. I think we may have touched the grass. Surely we touched the grass there. Oh my word, it's turning into a nightmare qualifying, and no, we didn't. We actually started spinning the rear end before we even got to the grass there, so I just got way too greedy on the throttle, and you can very much tell maybe that I've been away from the F1 game for 7 whole days making these kind of errors, but it's really now where it matters in Q3 where the pressure's on, and I've never been much of a qualifier when the pressure is on, and it's getting to me. Purple first sector, green the second though. It's a solid third flying lap, and finally we get a lap in. That's going to get us on the board, and it's going to be P5. In the end, can't be too disappointed by that, looking at all the mistakes I made on the first 2 flying laps, on that first set of tyres. That third lap was on the last set of softs I had, so we had to get that lap time in. But Ferrari, again, looking quick, but this time it's Leclerc, Sainz, the championship leader, down in P8. The Red Bulls look strong, and where the hell has Pierre Gasly got that pace from in the Alpine? I literally insulted them just earlier in the video, saying they were in the bottom half of this table and this grid, and Gasly's gone and put it on the second row. Incredible stuff here. Got to be the driver of the day on Saturday. Let's see if he can convert that into anything on the Sunday. For us from P5, I think we should be aiming for towards a podium, but let's see what the race pace is like, and hopefully we can minimize those mistakes we made here in qualifying. Let's go to the grid for the Spanish GP.
Welcome along, everyone, to sunny Spain, specifically to the Circuit de Barcelona, Catalunya. So many great moments in Formula One history have been written at this very track over the years, including Michael Schumacher's first win for Ferrari back in '96. That win was in the rain. We might have better weather here today, but we're just as overjoyed to be at the Spanish Grand Prix. It's an updated track at Catalunya, and we welcome the removal of the chicane in the final sector, shortening lap times and reducing the total running to 2.9 miles and 14 turns. This was actually the original setup for the track, but it hasn't been used since 2007. Let's run you through the driver grid order for today's exciting race. A fantastic effort from Charles Leclerc yesterday, and it's put him on pole, and Lando Norris lines up alongside. Looking at the rest of today's grid, we have Gasly, Verstappen, the owner driver, Fernando Alonso, Russell, Sainz, Hamilton, Oscar Piastri, Magnussen, Albon, Joe, Bottas, Sargent, Ricciardo, Stroll, Ocon, Hulkenberg, Perez, Tsunoda, and Liam Lawson. It's almost time for those 5 red lights to go out then. Let's see who can prevail today.
Quite a few questions to be answered in this Grand Prix. Can Red Bull bounce back from a bit of horrid form ever since that 1-2 in the opening round? Can Leclerc finally get his season off the mark versus his teammate who leads the championship for Ferrari? Can Gasly somehow pull off a miracle and do something with this amazing second row start for Alpine and himself? And then can we try and find any of that form in Bahrain and minimize those mistakes from Saturday to try and get back on the podium here around Catalunya? And where are Aston Martin and Mercedes going to stack? Aston and Mercedes have upgrades, lots of people have upgrades, and it's a place where traditionally they start coming thick and fast, so this really could be the start of a development race this season as we go to 5 red lights to this Spanish Grand Prix. The European portion of the season kicks off, and it's a slow getaway for Norris, for Gasly, for everyone versus us. It's an electric start. We've managed to overtake Verstappen, Gasly, Norris, and now Leclerc on the outside of turn 1. Massive amount of oversteer though into turn 2, and Leclerc is going to be all over us. The Ferrari is going to use a bit of battery to get towards the inside. We take the racing line. Leclerc comes in with the ferocious dive bomb. We almost make contact, but the man from Monaco is determined to get his P1 back. We're side by side. The Ferrari stronger in this section, and he gets back up into P1. We had a bit of a nosebleed, to be honest, having made that incredible 4-car overtake and just slipped up, and again a mistake on the rear end just came in straight away. We can't have that anymore as we make another small mistake getting on the curb. There really is a bit of rust here in my driving that needs to go away very quickly, because we're still in a great position. P2 ahead of the 2 Red Bulls. Gasly's done well to stay ahead of Verstappen, but it was an electric start for us, but we just need to keep that kind of vibe going. But right now through the last few corners we're having a lot of understeer and really misjudging the final corner on heavy fuel. I'm going to check if there's any damage on the car, just in case maybe there was a bit of contact with the Ferrari. Thankfully not. We go defensive on the Red Bull to keep second place just about, but for how long can we do that? And can we start to gain on the Ferrari? Because this is looking all too familiar with the way Carlos Sainz won his race obviously earlier, and the way Ferrari have actually been very, very good in these races. They're just pulling away and getting away from everyone. Thankfully on lap 6 we have made progress on the Ferrari. I can see Leclerc is squirming a little bit at the rear end as his tyres start to scream out. You can see just through that right-hander his front end wobbling as he tries to get some grip on the front end as well. And we're setting into this race. We're getting a rhythm now on these mediums, and we're finally well within 1 second with DRS. No even battery needing to be used because the DRS is now so powerful for us, having made that second upgrade on the DRS. Very much Red Bull vibes from real life. Our car is a rocket ship now with the rear wing open, but Leclerc comes back at us. The Ferrari makes contact. Leclerc gets the elbows out. He's much better in the corners, it would seem, versus us, and he's on the inside once again, having to try and fight him to the inside of this corner. This time we're going to try and do a lot better to outbrake him, push him wide, and try and keep our nose in at least, as we're now in a drag race to the next set of corners. Leclerc still on our right hand side. We're determined to keep fighting this because I feel like this is the time we need to overtake him and then try and run away as he maybe gets gobbled up by the Red Bulls, because there goes Lando Norris on the outside and the Brit is up into P2 for Red Bull. Verstappen has got Gasly, and unfortunately the Frenchman's fallen all the way down to P7. Sacre bleu for the French team as he's way down, and that elusive podium, dream podium maybe, that they were dreaming of with that P3 start has gone away for the French team and the French driver. For us though, the dream is still on to maybe even win this race as we defend and try and break the toe of Lando Norris. Verstappen goes and overtakes the Ferrari, so this is the true Red Bull pace. This is a bit more like it from them. This is what we saw in Melbourne in the first round. Verstappen is up to third place. He's overtaken Leclerc, and Leclerc is falling away, and Sainz is P5. He's not too far away. Could it be once again Sainz being the stronger Ferrari driver despite Leclerc being on pole? Lap 7, defending Lando in the mirrors, and we're actually going to be a little bit cheeky here, go wide, and then I think midway through the corner, why don't we just let him by and we'll re-overtake him. I didn't do that on purpose initially, but then halfway through the corner, as I was understeering, I thought, you know what, we could probably just re-overtake him here. So we're playing a bit of a dangerous game, I know, on lap 8 as we go for the dummy, fake to the right, go to the left, and re-overtake him. But we've got that straight line speed with the best engine on the grid and probably the best DRS on this grid as well as we get up back into P1. But it's all Red Bull in the mirrors, and we've got, still 8 laps to go until our pit stop. So they're all over me, and we need to be careful and need to make sure we're defending these apexes as Verstappen is looking a bit hungry now later onto that same lap 8, and he's looking to maybe make a move on his teammate. He's got DRS. He's right up the gearbox. Lando makes a mistake. He locks up into that corner and invites the Dutchman through. Verstappen goes round the outside of the right-hander. It's going to be a fantastic move for the Dutchman, and he's up into second place, and now can maybe try and chase after us as Lando now feels the pressure from the Ferrari, who's keeping up with him as we see Carlos Sainz is out of this Grand Prix. The championship leader has had a DNF. We'll look at a replay later at where that happened. I'm sure it was an engine failure probably because no one else is out, as Leclerc now maybe knows that news and is trying to get a move on because he's the only one flying the flag for the Tifosi today, as Alonso now gets into P5 and underneath the rear wing of Leclerc. So are we now going to see Aston Martin getting to the fight? They've had a bit of a quiet start to the season, but they're looking good as we see Piastri bottoming the top 10. But this is a replay then, and it was an engine failure as the Ferrari goes up in smokes, and Sainz's consistency of not being off the podium so far this season comes to a miserable end. And is this the beginning of the end of the Ferrari mounting a challenge for the title, I wonder? This is what happened last season, over a 23 race season. This is 16, so it's just been condensed a little bit, but already now engine failures have begun for Ferrari, as on lap 10 Verstappen now is looking to make an overtake. We're deploying plenty of battery to try and defend this on the inside, plenty of curb. We need to be careful on the rear end, but we dance the car around the outside of Verstappen to keep it into first place on lap 10. 6 laps probably now till the pit stop, and we're keeping the car in the middle of the circuit awkwardly to try and defend against him. You can see in the proximity arrow he's moving left, right, trying to overtake us in every section, and we're just being as good as we can be on the brakes and defending and placing the car in the right part of the circuit to try and basically annoy him as much as we can so he can't make that dive round the outside or the dive to the inside. Lap 11, the same thing. We'll park the car in the middle of the circuit. Verstappen's made contact with us. Verstappen's got it all messed up. He's made contact with us on our rear end and he's got damage and he's only got himself to blame. Let's have a look. I mean, that's just so silly. That's a really, really silly effort by Verstappen's AI. That's a little bit silly from the AI in general. The coding there could have a little bit of work, not going to lie. So Verstappen just outbrakes himself. You know, the car behind, it's your job to judge where on earth you're going. And Verstappen completely misjudged that. And so he is in the pits. He's been in the pits for a couple of laps now. As we're on lap 15, my teammate has come in. And Lando Norris is the Red Bull now leading the way, looking to attack us. It's now Lando and Leclerc all in the mirrors. But just like we were with Verstappen, we're trying to defend as much as we can against Lando up until lap 15 because I reckon it's time to come in now. My tyres were starting to struggle. You saw, you know, Lando was able to really pounce on us through the last corner. You know, that last sector is where we're really losing some time once the tyres start to go off. So we're going to come in one lap earlier than our planned pit stop, but that's also because Ricciardo came in one lap earlier than I thought he would. So we're both going for that undercut onto the hard tyres. I wonder where Verstappen is because he technically would get a bit of a good undercut pitting that early despite the front wing change. And look at that, he's only 2.3 seconds behind us, maybe even 1 point something by the time he gets into turn 1, just ahead of Alexander Albon. So Verstappen, despite that front wing damage, he actually might be looking okay for the rest of this race as Bottas sets the fast lap for the Grand Prix. Surprisingly, we're back into third place and Verstappen has jumped Leclerc. Look at the minimap, that red dot is Leclerc and he's only just got ahead of the two Aston Martins of Albon and Alonso, I believe, in that order, as Verstappen again is lurking into this right hand at the end of Sector 1. We go defensive to the inside. He tries to move to the outside, but it's not going to work. Norris and Russell yet to come in, and I think we both will jump Lando. I think the Red Bull, the second one, who's coming in now, will come out behind all of us, maybe. Yes, he will. So it's myself from Verstappen. Leclerc now in third place. Norris down to fourth, but he's got fresher, hard tyres as we see the two Aston Martins harrowing the Red Bull of Lando Norris as Verstappen continues to try and apply the pressure into Sector 2. Verstappen's going to pull out for the kamikaze dive. We have avoided contact with him, but there's contact for the Ferrari. Carbon fibre flying, front wings off, and the safety car is out. Verstappen and Leclerc have crashed here on lap 18. We narrowly avoided, somehow, a crash with Verstappen. Mike, I don't know how we avoided a crash with him, but he crashed into Leclerc as he came back onto the racing line. Verstappen getting desperate in a season where he won the first race, but then it's all kind of gone down the toilet and continues to do so as he takes out his own front wing and Leclerc's front wing. And from the onboard of Leclerc, we play that again. Just look at how close that was. I'm actually gobsmacked how we didn't get any damage off Verstappen. We must have been millimeters away from making contact with him. Thankfully, we took an off-boarding action and, you know, we were kind of very much away from the contact Verstappen and Leclerc made, but that could have been nasty for us. So once again, playing it safe and trying to play it smart with some of these fights and not committing too much has paid out for us because we've been the one that we've come out unscathed. We're still in P1. Verstappen and Leclerc now, although at the back of the grid, and all of a sudden, it's myself, Norris and Albon, 1, 2, 3. Alonso 4th. Bottas 5th in the McLaren. This is a crazy top 5. And now we're getting this Grand Prix underway onto lap 21. Now we're playing a bit of a game here as we slow up in the last corner. They thought I was bolting then. Now I'm bolting and looking to break the toe of Lando Norris and also just cause a bit of chaos maybe if I can behind me by backing them up right at the last corner. You know, because Ricciardo, he's up in P9 now. So if he can maybe make a move on this opening lap as we go green, you know, thanks thanks to me backing them up in a bit of an awkward way, then, that'll be a positive for us, but also just trying to break the toe of Lando Norris, who's in second place as we continue to lead this Spanish Grand Prix. But it's top 4 for both Aston Martins, who are looking a lot better in this race as we go a little bit wide, though, in this same left-hander where we've been so poor all race, all qualifying versus the AI. They definitely have something over me there as Norris almost makes a move to the inside. Thankfully, we keep the position and hold P1. Little bit of understeer as these hard tyres are still rubbering up. Norris coming in. We go defensive. We're going to get the elbow out to try and shove him off wide, and that's going to invite Albon to come in, of all people. The two friends in real life are now side by side. Albon, I think he's got a bit of damage maybe because he goes slow, and all of a sudden Alonso is the Aston Martin in third place, and Albon, after maybe going for P2, is going to have to come into the pits, unfortunately. Oh, what the? He's crashed! Oh, he's crashed into the pit lane! Oh my word. It's a second safety car. Lap 22, it's a second safety car, and it's because Albon, I think he legitimately crashed into the pit entry wall. Unreal stuff. Right, here's the onboard, from the beginning as we defend Lando. The Red Bull goes wide. Albon gets a bit too greedy and there you go. Breaks the front wing on Lando's front left tyre, then understeers like anything, and Alonso gets up into third place. So Albon has to pit now at this stage. There's too many laps to go for him to continue on with this damage, and as he comes in, he goes way too hot, crashes into the pit wall, and the game actually teleports him into the middle of the last corner, and that's probably why the safety car is out, is because of the teleportation. But the debris was in the pit entry as we now again go for another restart on lap 23, this time making it even more awkward at the final corner as we really slow it down and then go again. And we just use the fact we've got the better engine to pull away from Lando still by a couple of tenths as we remain in first place. The Red Bull is a bit closer to us now, though. Alonso also keeping up in third place. Bottas fourth. Magnussen in P5. Ricciardo still P8 behind the two Mercedes cars. But the Red Bull, I'm not going to lie, is looking a bit closer here. We're going to go defensive, then go back to the racing line. Lando may well try it once again at this left-hander. We've got to try and outdo him here a little bit. We're on the inside, but we've outbroken ourselves, and we've gone a little bit slow through that corner. Alonso, out of nowhere, though. Hang on, where did he come from? He's up into second. Fernando, in his home Grand Prix, is flying in the Aston Martin onto lap 25. He's looking to try and get in our slipstream, but Norris is pulling through like anything. Red Bull versus Aston in a straight line. The Red Bull has it, and actually Lando tries to send one down the inside of us, and he's still there on the outside into the inside to turn 3. The Red Bull has managed to overtake us somehow. We're going to try and come back at him for the move to the inside, but Lando's got it. Lando has the lead of the Spanish Grand Prix. I don't know how on earth he kept it going round the outside of turn 2. I thought I had him. I thought I was going to squeeze him out. Easy job done, but our fellow compatriot kept his foot in. Fair play to him. Very brave stuff, and has kept first place. And unfortunately, on lap 26, he's broken DRS now. He's outside of 1 second, and suddenly it's not looking too great. I think everyone else is liking these hard tyres way more than I am. It looks like our car definitely preferred the mediums around Catalonia because I've not got the same pace I had on the mediums versus the Red Bull. As we now watch on lap 27, Russell made a move on Bottas, and Ricciardo making a move for P7. This is what we like to see. Ricciardo, he's slowly getting focus. He's, I think, about 80 focus now. So if he gets to 90, I think we'll start to really see the true old Daniel Ricciardo back in action. But for us, lap 27 onto 28, it may not matter because our car feels absolutely horrible on these hard tyres now, and Alonso is flying. I've got no battery. I've got 3% ERS, no DRS, and Alonso's flown by us. And I'm not going to lie, we have to accept the fact he's just overtaken us, and that's probably it, because I've not got enough battery now. I'm into single digits by the end of the main straight, which means I hardly have any to keep up with him now for this next lap on lap 28, because we're only at 9% now, and if I overuse it, I won't have enough to catch up to him in a straight line. So Alonso flying here, everyone is, versus myself on hard tyres, because even the Mercedes are now starting to catch us. Hamilton is 2/10 behind us as Ricciardo looks to re-overtake Gasly. I think he overtook him once, Gasly re-overtook him. Now he's going back for it and going for the P7. Great to see Ricciardo battling and getting his elbows out there into turn 3 to get up into P7. But for us, it's a real sorry story onto the last lap of the Grand Prix. Can we even keep the podium? This is how bad our car has been on these hard tyres. There's a bit of engine wear on the turbocharger. Maybe that's slowing up the acceleration slightly, but it's not a massive issue, I wouldn't think. And we've got a bit of battery to use, but it's more in the corners. I don't have the turn-in that I had in stint 1 on the mediums, and the Mercedes are just able to, look at that, the way Russell pounces around the outside of us. That's to do with tyre wear and how the tyres are feeling. Now the two Mercedes are side by side. Russell and Hamilton squabbling over who's going to be the higher Mercedes may just help us keep the P3, keep the podium, but it's going to be Lando Norris who wins his first race for Red Bull Racing here in Season 2. He's a winner in Formula 1. Fernando Alonso second place, and for us, it's third. It's still a podium, which is pretty good, but at one point I thought we could have won the race, but those hard tyres after the second safety car absolutely nosedived in terms of performance. That was a bit frustrating, but it's a podium nonetheless.
Another Spanish Grand Prix is over, and what a special race it was. Natalie Pinkham, how do you think they were able to set themselves apart today?
Well, confidence breeds confidence. Success breeds success. They are very much enjoying a purple patch right now.
The drivers are en route to the podium as we speak. What a fantastic win for the Red Bull team. They performed exceptionally today, keeping us firmly on the edge of our seats throughout the entirety of the race. Congratulations to everybody at the team.
It's Lando Norris's first ever win in this alternate F1 universe of ours, and his first win for his new team, Red Bull Racing. And he is really making a claim for maybe being a new team leader for Red Bull. Verstappen has some real company here in his team. He's had a bit of a woeful season, and it's continued ever since that first win for him down under. Alonso and Aston Martin finally clicking a little bit again ever since that sprint win at Qatar. It's second place and his home race for Fernando Alonso, but for us, third is still solid. It's back-to-back podiums. You know, if you told me that at the start of the season, I would have taken it. The only reason I'm disappointed is we were in first place for so much of this race, but the hard tyres, they just fell away for us. They really did not work for us in the last couple of laps. Mercedes even looked so electric. Ricciardo got P8 in the end, so that's solid. And for the first time, Ricciardo is actually in the top half of this page on the Drivers' Championship and is ahead of Piastri, our old teammate. So, bit of vindication there for us choosing Ricciardo. He's starting to come really good. But look at that, Lando Norris and Sainz, the two former McLaren teammates, are joint top at the championship. We're in third place, only a couple of points off, and it's so close in the Constructors. 22 points over the top 4, 30 points over the top 5. That is unbelievable. If it continues like this with a reduced R&D for us, increased R&D for the AI, it's going to be a very interesting couple of next races. Guys, if you have enjoyed the episode, be sure to hit the like button. Let me know what you thought in the comments below. If you're around here, then do get subscribed for weekly Formula 1 content. I'll see you guys next time. Goodbye.